Doing well. How are you doing today, my friend?
Good, good. We got a lot of pretty big news day today. We had Trump and Netanyahu at the press conference announcing a peace plan. And they basically have all the countries signed off except for they're waiting on the approval of Hamas and see if Hamas will accept the deal or not. So we'll see. Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Listen, Hamas. Let's just keep in mind. Your dad and I mean, we've had this discussion. Like, he's maybe more critical than I am, but I'm not saying Israel's perfect. But please, Hamas are a rancid death cult. They don't want this. They don't want anything good coming out of this, and that's why they're holding off, and we'll see what happens.
Yep, we'll see. But here's Trump announcing the countries that are in agreement with the plan so far.
And I want to just say that my meetings and dialogue that we had with so many countries, Saudi Arabia as an example, the king is a phenomenal person. The Emir of Qatar, he's incredible people. UAE, and that's MBZ and ABZ. We're totally involved. These are the people that we've been dealing with and who've been actually very much involved in this negotiation, giving us ideas, things they can live with, things they can't live with. Pretty complex. I mean, after 2,000, 3,000 years, whatever it is, I guess it's got to be a little complex, or it would have been done a long time ago. The King of Jordan was with us, as you know, in the United Nations. The President of Turkey, President Erdogan, is a friend of mine, a strong man, but a good man. President of Indonesia, somebody who's an amazing leader, Prabowo. He is an amazing leader and respected by everybody. He was in the room with us. We were together with most of these people that I'm mentioning. Others were by phone or the next day. The Prime Minister and the Field Marshal of Pakistan, they were with us right from the beginning. Incredible. In fact, they just put out a statement that they fully believe in this pact. It just came out just as I was walking around. They said, "Sir, you have a big notice from the Prime Minister of Pakistan and from the Field Marshal that they back this 100%. President El-Sisi of Egypt, who's terrific. And these are people I've gotten to know over the years. I mean, I would say it started around 2015 and then went into 2016 when the presidency officially began. But I've known him actually for a long time, and there are many cases really great men. I can't say in all cases, but I will tell you in many cases they're great men, and some great women too. They tend to be mostly men, however, I will say that.
Well, there you go.
Sorry, I hadn't heard that part.
And I want
that's hilarious.
Yeah. And he also announced a international peace. I think what was it called? You know what it was? The international body that he was creating.
Yeah, I can't remember the name he used. Sorry, I'm forgetting.
Yeah, but he said he was heading it, and it was a body, international body, to work for peace. So I guess we'll see what happens, but they're just waiting on Hamas. So.
Well, if it's an international body for peace, then that really relieves me, because that means he's not going to be heading up the UN, because that is definitely not an international body for peace.
Yeah.
Just quick editorial comment there.
Yep. Well, in other news, we'll see what happens with that. But in other news, it seems like Congress is fighting on who is going to be to blame if the government shuts down. Democrats are all screaming that it's up to the Republicans, but here's J.D. Vance on this.
We just had a very frank conversation with the Senate and House Democratic leadership. Look, the principle at stake here is very simple. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut that government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it. If you look at what Chuck Schumer has said in the past consistently, it's whatever our disagreements are, let's negotiate with them, let's talk about them, let's figure out a bipartisan solution, but you don't shut the government down. In other words, you don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what Senate and House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government. That's exactly what they're proposing out there. Now, we have to remember, they're very frustrated. They say that they're very frustrated about the fact that this negotiation has not taken place until today. But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make one final point here. You will hear a lot from Senate Democrats, from House Democrats about the fact that American health care policy is broken. Well, we know that American health care policy is broken. We've been trying to fix it for the 8 months that we've been in office, but every single thing that they accuse about being broken about American health care is policy the Democrats have supported for the past decade. So if they want to talk about how to fix American health care policy, let's do it. The Speaker would love to do it. The Senate Majority Leader would love to do it. Let's work on it together, but let's do it in the context of an open government that's providing essential services to the American people. That's all that we're proposing to do, and the fact that they refuse to do that shows how unreasonable their position is. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind, but we're going to see.
Well, there you go. And you have Schumer coming out after that meeting and saying that it's up to the Republicans. It's going to be the Republicans' fault if the government shuts down.
Well, what's unique about this, and remember, I first went to work on Capitol Hill after the 2010 elections. So I was involved in the last, the two long shutdowns ago. There was one 35 days during the Trump administration, one 16 days in 2013, and I was working on Capitol Hill at the time. I've seen these things come and go for nearly 2 decades now, and this is the actual first time that Republicans are saying exactly the right thing. Everything J.D. Vance said there is right on target and the types of things that Republicans should have been doing. This is Chuck Schumer needing a shutdown because he was, according to his radical leftist base in the Democrat Party, they were pissed off at him for allowing a deal to be done the last potential government shutdown in the spring. And he took a lot of political heat for that, and he's going to go all the way to try to please those people because, frankly, AOC's on his heels for a Democrat primary in New York, and it looks like she has a chance to beat him in a Senate primary, Democrat primary. So he could lose a seat. So he's going to do what he's doing. Of course, he's always kind of been this way. Democrats have, for the last 30 years at least, maybe even longer than that, have gone back and forth and demanded, and in situations like this, that Republicans do what they say because they believe they run things. That Schumer's doing that again right now. He got beat up a little bit when he compromised the last shutdown, and he's going to put in his heels. He doesn't want to lose a seat. I don't know if he'll be successful at that, but nonetheless, he's going to take this on. On the other side of this issue, I'm perfectly fine always with government shutdowns. You know what happens during a government shutdown? You have tax revenue still coming in. Essential services still take place, and they're paid for with the incoming tax revenue. And non-essential services get paid when the funding comes back later. The shutdown 2013, I didn't get a paycheck for 2 weeks. I got it all back on the back end of it, just like every other federal employee got it all back, because that was the deal they play. What may be happening this time is Russ Vought, the OMB director, has put out a letter to every federal agency saying they have to have a reduction in force plan. In other words, letting people go if there's a shutdown. And I'm fine with that. You could see hundreds of thousands of federal employees taken off the payrolls permanently, and I would like to see that. They want to get rid of all NGO funding because it's not going to be appropriated. Do it. We shouldn't even be funding the NGOs to begin with. Democrats are playing a game here I think they're going to lose, and the Trump administration is taking all the right steps to oppose this, and Schumer's going to lose this. And also give credit to Donald Trump because he's driving, and J.D. Vance, but Donald Trump primarily, because he's driving this process. And Republicans are following his lead rather than, as Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell did, undermine him whenever these things would come up back in his first administration. So it's a brand new day. I hope it plays out the way I think it's going to.
Yep. Well, I saw here Senator Fetterman had some advice for Chuck Schumer. It says, John Fetterman says he has one suggestion for Chuck Schumer and Democrats plotting to shut down the government tomorrow: win elections.
Yeah.
But he's voting with them, right? So, I mean.
You know what? You just might be surprised. He might not. He wants to get reelected later in Pennsylvania. That's actually I think there's some seriousness in how he's kind of playing the Joe Manchin role. As a senator in the Democrat caucus. But nonetheless, I mean, he's going to tend to go their way. Yeah. But he knows Pennsylvania is not a gimme anymore for Democrats. And it never has been, but it's going to be worse so for him now. So he's kind of playing that game. I think there's some sincerity behind it. But the reality is Republicans won the election and they've got the upper hand. And Republicans always give in when Democrats have a bit of the upper hand, or they give them the upper hand when they don't deserve it. Now, finally, I see a bit of spine, and it's going to be interesting to see how this may very positively play out.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what Speaker Johnson was saying today as well. He was saying, I have a clip here. He was saying that whenever we were facing shutdowns during the Trump administration, the Republican Party did what it had to do to keep the government open, and he suggests they do the same. Here's his remarks.
Vice President Vance, I want to thank the president as well. They showed strong leadership today. They invited the 4 leaders over here because the president is operating in good faith, and he demonstrated that very well. The problem is that Chuck Schumer and Leader Jeffries refuse to acknowledge the simple facts. Let's review what the simple facts are. As the vice president was saying, this is the common sense thing to do. This is the right thing to do. This is the simple thing to do. By way of review, the House is getting back to the way the regular appropriations process is supposed to work. 12 separate appropriations bills passed through the House Appropriations Committee, 3 off the floor. The Senate doing their work as well. All this in bipartisan fashion, by the way. They passed 3 bills in the Senate. Those bills don't match up exactly. So for the first time in years, since 2019, you have a conference committee that is being constituted between the House and the Senate. This is the way a bill becomes a law. They work out the differences. All this is happening in bipartisan fashion. The problem is we've run out of clock. September 30th is the end of the fiscal year, so we need a little more time. So what we did in the Republican majority is the right, responsible, simple thing. A clean, continuing resolution, a short-term, nonpartisan continuing resolution. It's only 24 pages in length. Leader Thune has a copy if you want to see the exhibit. There's nothing partisan in here. No policy writers, none of our big party preferences, because we want to do the right thing by the American people and allow more time for negotiation. Now, there's a reason that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have come out here, stomped the feet, saying that they can't go along with this. They're trying to bring in extraneous issues. They issued a counter proposal. You should go take a look at what they requested. $1.5 trillion in new spending that is unrelated to the ongoing appropriations process. They wanted to, as you said, restore taxpayer-funded benefits, okay? Hard-working taxpayers in America. They want to take your funds and give that for benefits to illegal aliens. They want to restore that because we got rid of it. They want to prop up left-leaning media outlets. $500 million they threw in on top of that. $1.5 trillion on a 7-week stopgap funding measure. We're not going to do that. They know we can't do that. And we never have in the past.
Well, there you go. There's his remarks, and we'll be right back here after this break.
The businessman from Texas that spent years trying to bring the perfect red heifers to Israel is coming to speak in Collierville, Tennessee, outside of Memphis, on Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. they now have sacrificed one of those red heifers. There it is burning. They've now gained 10 gallons of ashes. Why do they need this? Well, the Old Testament, Numbers chapter 19 says that for the purification ceremony, for their temporary tabernacle or full-time temple, they need the ashes of a perfect red heifer. This is the first time this has happened in over 2,000 years. The story is going global. It's highly controversial. In fact, there's even a connection between the attacks on Israel on October 7th and these 5 red heifers. Come and hear him speak live in person, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Full details, worldviewstore.com, and to get your tickets, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com.
All right, welcome back from the break. Jim, I got one little clip here just for fun. We have Don Lemon on his show, and listen to what he has to say.
Men who look like you, men who vote like you, and men who sound like you. White men, something is broken. Something is cracked deep inside when so many of you believe the answer to fear, to loss, to change is violence. Are you listening to me? I hope I'm saying it loud enough for the people in the back. Men who look like you.
Well, there you go. So I guess he's taking all this liberal violence going on and trying to flip it around to make it a white person thing.
Well, there's a report that the Cato Institute put out, which we've been investigating all day long. And we find that it's quite inaccurate, but they say it's right-wing violence that's the problem. Of course, they've conflated the numbers, their taxonomy of, distinguishing what's right, what's left, what's not either is way off target. You had the CSIS do the same thing in their report, and the Anti-Defamation League is doing the same as well, touting similar numbers. The reality is the violent rhetoric that is in the public square is, by and large, almost without exception, not entirely without exception, but almost without exception, Democrat violent words, pressing the types of problems and things, by the way, like Don Lemon's doing right now, or right in that clip, to say that the problem in this country are particularly white males and anyone on the right. There's a woke preacher in McLean, Virginia, at the McLean Bible Church, that was saying how offended he was with Charlie Kirk. It's happening in the church as well. There's a woke progressive movement in the church that is attempting to rewrite what's reality. It's the people on the left, the progressive, woke, left Christian church, and the Democrat Party. They do not represent what's going on in this country accurately because they have an agenda they are trying to make happen. On the right, by and large, not without exception, there's certainly, this is a human endeavor as well, too. On the right, people are trying to restore what we know we've lost. And this is why Donald Trump calls it Make America Great Again. So we'll see who wins. But it is human nature to say it's the other guy that's wrong all the time. That is human nature. In this case, really, the problem does have a much greater tendency on the Democrat side because they are trying to break down our normal institutions that made this country great and replace it with something that doesn't look like America. And that's their political position right now. You have to have the political fight to get there. But for Don Lemon to push white guys as the problem again is so incredibly absurd. Race is not our problem. Those who promote race are a big part of our problem.
Yep. Well, we have other news. Over 100,000 federal employees are reportedly set to resign tomorrow in the largest mass resignation in U.S. history under President Trump's plan to cut the federal workforce. So is this where they offered them deals to resign and take the rest of their contracts, or how was that?
Apparently, they're doing it under protest. That's my understanding here. And by the way, I thought we were going to be in terror if the government shuts down tomorrow and 100,000 federal workers are going to be walking off the job. I haven't heard Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer say that they are putting the American public at risk. Well, shock. Maybe we just don't need them then.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I can tell you this. You don't need federal workers who want to act in this manner. To act in this manner is evidence of the problem that we are talking about. And you talk about some of the problems that Sean Duffy inherited, particularly with air traffic controllers and other parts of the transportation department. And Pete Buttigieg messed up. But Ronald Reagan, when air traffic controllers walked off the job, he fired every one of them. And we kept flying planes afterwards. There are certain people that work in government who think that the whole world revolves around them. And that's their problem. We don't need federal workers like that. We got to get to a place where the government just does the minimum that is required in the Constitution, and stop acting arrogantly. We're the people who matter. We're the taxpayers. We're the people. You're not our bosses. So bye-bye. I mean, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yep. And it's kind of ironic that they're doing it in protest when that's basically what we've been wanting. So listen, I'm completely fine with these 100,000 workers never coming back to work again. And there might be a handful or some small portion that are really valuable of these people who have their political thing. But you know what? We can handle that as a country. Yeah. I don't care if there's no federal employee that is so valuable that we can't lose them. None of them. The one we can't lose, which Democrats and people in the deep state have been trying to take down all the time, is the president that we elect. They attempted to take down Donald Trump. John Brennan, James Comey, Barack Obama attempted a coup on Donald Trump after the 2016 election. That's the problem that we have, because the elected guy is the one that we chose. We don't choose these people, and they're welcome to go do whatever else they want if they have the skills and capability of doing it. Yep. Well, here, Trump put out a True Social today. Self-proclaimed New York City communist Zohran Mamdani, who is running for mayor, will prove to be one of the best things to ever happen for our great Republican Party. He's going to have problems with Washington like no mayor in the history of our once great city. Remember, he needs the money from me as president in order to fulfill all of his fake communist promises. He won't be getting any of it. So what's the point of voting for him? This ideology has failed always for thousands of years. It will fail again, and that's guaranteed. President DJT. And here is Zohran today. I think he was asked about this.
Go ahead, Frank. Let me read to you. Donald Trump tweeted, Truth Social, whatever the social media thing is. Self-proclaimed New York City communist Zohran Mamdani, who's running for mayor, will prove to be one of the best things ever to happen for the great Republican Party. He'll have problems with Washington like no mayor in history. So basically, he's threatening you again in the wake of Adams dropping out of the race. What's your response to that? And are you worried that New York will be in a worse position with the federal government if you become mayor?
I think that Donald Trump is going through the stages of grief. He began with denial, where he said that there was no way we could win this race and that he would use every tool at his disposal to ensure that that was the case. And we saw that in phone calls that he had with Andrew Cuomo and briefings that he had with pollsters. And now we've reached the point where he's coming to terms with the fact that we're going to win this race. And he's coming to terms with it because New Yorkers are tired of a politics here in this city that has more to do with Washington than it has to do with the people of this same city. And what we're seeing is even when you have a mayor who is collaborating to every extent possible with this administration, you are still seeing a federal policy of detaining New Yorkers as young as 6 years old, of withholding more than $50 million in funding from our schools, of taking $80 million out of a bank account. You still see an administration that looks at this city as something that is to be punished each and every day. And what this city deserves is someone who will fight for it. We know that Andrew Cuomo would be the greatest thing that could happen for Donald Trump. because he isn't simply clearing the way or looking to for Andrew Cuomo out of a sincere belief in what Cuomo will present for the people of the city. He's doing so because he knows that Andrew Cuomo will clear the way for Donald Trump's agenda. And New Yorkers are sick and tired of that agenda. They are sick and tired of what has passed for leadership from Andrew Cuomo. I mean, we are talking about some.
Well, there you go. So
he says people there in the city are more worried about Washington, D.C. than what happens in New York City. Fine. No money.
Yeah.
Do it yourself. Go ahead. The guy doesn't realize that Donald Trump is not in any stage of grief. I mean, he certainly is going to grieve for his city and the situation it's going to be in. But if I've got to put the battle between Zoran Mamdani and Donald Trump, I'm going with Donald Trump every time. This guy's a lightweight. He'll learn and he'll get better at what he's doing. But New York City is about to get a well of pain coming their way, but they're going to end up blaming us for it. It's like they got these blinders on; they can't see reality. Well, reality's coming, and they're going to pay the price for it. And by the way, federal money needs to stop going to these cities. So the only money that should be going into any area of the country is to an individual based upon some government program, most of which are unconstitutional to begin with. But while we have them there, should go direct to that person. Cities and states should not be receiving bulk payments from the federal government to help them with their problems. They got to solve their own problems. We need to stop helping them.
Yep. And most of these people who are voting for him don't even know what they're voting for. They're doing it because it's the cool thing to do. If you follow, I don't know if you've seen Zach Sage on social media before. He goes around New York City and he acts like he's a canvasser for Zoran and starts reading some of the policies to him. And some of them are shocked and they're like, that's not true. And it's right here on his website. And then some of them are like this girl who is fine with all of them. She just goes along with it. Here we go.
On Mamdani? It's just a pledge for support.
Absolutely.
Amazing. And then I just have to read you at least 3 of his policies. Take 2 seconds.
Very aware of them already.
Oh, and you like them all?
Yes,
okay, cool. All right, so you're cool with taxing whiter neighborhoods?
Yes.
Are you white?
Yes.
Do you think that's race baiting?
No.
Really? Yeah, it's fine. Who cares? Okay, he's openly discriminated against Italians, but whatever.
I'm Italian.
Yeah, dude, literally, honestly, pizza's not even that good. Okay, and then he won't sign Holocaust remembrance legislation.
You know.
Do we need to remember? Yeah. All right. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, have a nice day. Thank you. That was insane.
He goes around. Most of the people they don't believe him. They're like, that's not one of his policies.
There are plenty of people in New York City who do, though. And we are going to have a residual problem, even if we can keep winning for the next 3, maybe even up to 7 to 11 years, if there's a Republican president after Donald Trump that is capable of doing it. If we can keep that run going, we might be able to save this country. But there's going to be a core of 25% of Democrats who are that radical. They've been so radicalized by communist, socialist ideas, it's going to be hard to pull them away from that. But that's why those of us of a right mind need to actually become the force for good in this country, not to destroy physically our opponents, but to destroy them politically. We do need to have political destruction in terms of winning at the ballot box, overwhelming them at the ballot box, learning how to run campaigns the right way, and determined to have big wins, changing our elections back to where they used to be and where they should be. And that's going to be a lot of work. Hopefully we can be successful. There's going to be some lingering problems, though, long into the future, and that woman represents part of it.
Yep. Well, last story for tonight. Secret Service officials have apprehended a male suspect who scaled the White House fence while President Trump was inside the complex. The individual was quickly taken into custody and no injuries were reported. So
that's what we pay Secret Service to do. Yep. And they did it again there, but wow, amazing.
Yeah. Who knows what he was trying to do, if he's trying to be an idiot, but who knows. All right, well, that's all it for tonight. I think we're going to be off for the rest of the week because we have the conference set up for the conference starting Wednesday, and you have an event tomorrow night, but hope you all have a great week. You too, Jim.
You too. Sorry we can't be there.
I know. We'll be back next week. Full 4 days next week. Until then, take care.
Tonight on the Worldview Report, top military brass are reportedly crafting plans to strike Venezuelan drug cartels inside a South American nation, possibly using drones and other weapons. Another bloody mass shooting takes place on Sunday at a Michigan church full of Mormon worshipers. And violent protests break out at an anti-ICE facility